Вы наверняка встречали загадочное сочетание букв вроде lol или sap и не знаете, что это обозначает. В этом видео наш преподаватель из Лондона Пол разберет популярные английские аббревиатуры. После этого вы уже точно будете знать, что они обозначают.
Welcome back to class again. Nice to see everyone. Today, we're talking about acronyms. So we're going to touch a little bit on acronyms. We're also going to focus on some funny acronyms. So we use abbreviations every day in writing, texting, note-taking, and just in general conversation by talking. There's a few different categories of abbreviations, and acronyms is one of them. So when you shorten a phrase by using just the first letter of each word and then pronounce it as a new word, you're using an acronym. What actually is an acronym? Well, an acronym is a word that's created by combining the first letter or syllable of each word in a phrase to create a new single word. So I've identified three examples of, fairly popular acronyms. The first one is FOMO, F-O-M-O, fear of missing out. So, for example, if your friend messages you and says, "You're coming out, it's Saturday night, let's go and party," and maybe you're not feeling too good, but you say yes because I have a FOMO. I have a fear of missing out. It's like something amazing is going to happen that night and you don't want to be told about it the next day. You want to be part of it. Second one is a relatively new acronym. It's something that we probably send in our messages quite a lot nowadays. It's called a GIF, G-I-F. And I don't know if anybody has ever actually looked up what a GIF stands for, but it stands for Graphics Interchange Format. Hence the GIF. And these are the things that sometimes we send as a picture instead of laughing or looking sad. It's just a new way that we are communicating with each other, usually on WhatsApp or Telegram or things like that. The last one is one that we've probably had for quite a long time, but we never really think about it, and that's PIN, P-I-N. So our personal identification number. So maybe on your bank card, you have a PIN, and that stands for personal identification number. But some acronyms are a little bit of both. They contain first letters, but also as well first syllables from the words in a phrase to create a new word. So for example, radar. It's derived from the phrase radio detection and ranging. So in both cases, an acronym is pronounced as a word. Acronyms are sometimes misinterpreted as maybe the first letter or a phrase of a company or an organization. But if the first letters are pronounced individually, it's called an initialism. So when do we use acronyms? Well, I think before texting, we probably didn't use them quite as often, but I think we probably use them quite a bit now because acronyms are basically used to make communication more concise. In other words, a bit quicker. And they're used in casual verbal communication. As I mentioned to you about the FOMO, we might say to our friend, "I'm not feeling great, but I think I'll go out anyway because of FOMO." So instead of saying we don't want to miss out, we don't want to be told about all the fun that everybody had, we just use the acronym FOMO. So it's uncommon to use abbreviations in more formal spoken conversations. So for example, I wouldn't say that if I was having a discussion with my friend. I wouldn't say I'm going out because of FOMO. We would actually explain properly what we meant. But formal written conversations are a different story. So in emails, maybe other business types, communication, acronyms are frequently used to keep the message brief. For example, we might send an email to a client that says, just log into the WYSIWYG editor and make any changes you like. So that's an acronym for what you see is what you get. And it can refer to editor interfaces that show how a finished project will look as the user makes changes. But where do they come from? They sometimes arise from slang and from shorthand. And so today, a lot of the acronyms and initialisms that we use in spoken and written communication, they actually have their roots in internet slang. So a few popular texting abbreviations that we use might be LOL for laugh out loud, or IDK for I don't know. It just makes it more casual, quicker, and most people by now know what these acronyms actually mean. But we can also have them in other things as well. So sometimes acronyms are used as brand names. So for example, FedEx is actually an acronym for a delivery company, Federal Express. Also for like governmental organizations like NASA, so National Aeronautics and Space Administration. OPEC, Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. What about acronym versus initialism versus abbreviation? So sometimes an initialism can also be known as an alphabetism. It's similar to an acronym in that it's also a new word created from the first letter of each word in a phrase. So sometimes we have URLs or FBI or ATM. But you see, we wouldn't pronounce ATM as atom, but if it was an acronym, you would. In some cases, a word can be both an acronym and an initialism. So for example, something that we use, ASAP, or as soon as possible, we can also say ASAP. So it depends. Acronyms, initialism are both types of abbreviations. In other words, they're just a shortened word. And sometimes they're pronounced as new words. So for example, there's a state in the US, which we all know about, California, but Californians don't usually call it California. They just call it Cali. So in other words, the full word is pronounced when it's spoken aloud. Like doctor, DR as the abbreviation for doctor, but we never say DR, we say doctor. We also have some examples of abbreviations. So MON for Monday, Prof for professor. So that gives us a little bit of a background for acronyms. What else do we have? We have some examples as well. So SCUBA is actually an acronym. I didn't know that. And it means self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. So sometimes we have words that we don't even realize are acronyms. We have some funny acronyms. So we might talk about school, 7 crappy hours of our life. Diet, obviously D-I-E-T. Do I eat today? Math, this is my favorite because it applies to me. Most awful thing from hell. So we can use these to make ourselves laugh, for something funny, all of these different things. Okay, so what else can we use them for? Well, we can use them for cars. We might laugh at certain cars, like, for example, a Ford. So for a Ford, now I like Fords, but if we want to use an acronym for Ford, we could say they're fast, only rolling downhill. So F-O-R-D. It's a bit of fun that we talk about with Ford cars. Volkswagens, if you weren't really a fan of Volkswagens or VWs, you might say that they were virtually worthless. A Buick, big, ugly, indestructible car killer. Or maybe a Volvo, very odd looking vehicle. Or perhaps BMW, brutal money waster. So we have lots of different ways that we can poke fun at things. Well, let's just go back to schools. So I think that the one for book is actually very clever. Brainy object of knowledge, B-O-O-K. I like the one about class. Come late and start sleeping, definitely. We also have another one for maths, mental abuse to humans. And another one for school, sucks children's happiness out of life. It's quite funny ones. What about people? Okay. Well, haters, having anger towards everyone reaching success. Love, loss of valuable energy. Stress, stuff to remember every single second. What about places? Well, I like the one for beach, best escape anyone can have. Park, peaceful amid rowdy kids. We can also have medical ones as well, maybe a little bit harsh. Habitat, another blithering idiot thinks he's a doctor. Salt, same as last time. Teeth, tried everything else. Try homeopathy. Fabian, felt awful, but I'm all right now. What else do we have? We actually have acronyms for the word acronym. So for a little twist, here we go. So we could have alphabetic code for remembering odd names you make up. Or a coded rendition of names yielding meaning. Or perhaps even a contrived reduction of nouns yielding mnemonics. Or another cryptic rendition of nomenclature you memorize. Okay, so we always have to try to be creative. But how can we use these acronyms? Well, we have to be very careful with some of them, because when we use LOL, we all know that it means laugh out loud. It doesn't mean lots of love. So if you're sending a message of sympathy, be careful that you don't put LOL, because they will think that you're laughing out loud at some bad news. Okay. We also have other ones. We want to think about laughing. So ROFC, rolling on floor crying, or ROFL, rolling on floor laughing. RTG, ready to go. We also have SFSG, so far, so good. So if we were doing something and we were in the middle of it, how's it going? SFSG, so far, so good, not finished yet. If we have someone who is giving us some bad news, well, TBFY, too bad for you. In other words, unlucky. Also as well, TBH, to be honest. We might use TBMS, to be more specific. We might even use TBNT, thanks, but no thanks. We also have other ones as well, which are quite slangy. We probably just use for our friends on our text messages. So MBF, my best friend. We might also use BFF, best friend forever. MBFAM, my brother from another mother. And we might be a bit sarcastic as well. MHBFY, my heart bleeds for you. So we're just saying, yeah, sorry. MHO, my honest opinion. So that concludes the funny acronyms for today. I hope that you found them useful. and I hope that you can look forward to using some of them in your future text messages. Okay, thanks guys. Bye for now.
Поздравляю, теперь вы знаете английские аббревиатуры. Пишите под этим видео, какая больше всего запомнилась, и ставьте лайк.